What's up, guys? I want to show you guys this Anthbot Genie 1000 robot lawnmower. It's pretty amazing. Basically, it's able to mow your lawn completely on its own, so that way you don't have to mow it anymore. It's got some really cool features, so I want to give you guys a complete breakdown of what this thing can do, some of the features that it has, what you can do in the app. I'll show you guys what it can do in action, and then I'll just give you guys my review at the end. So let's get in the video. All right, so first off, as far as what comes with it, you get the robot lawnmower right here. It comes with this base station or charging station, and then you also get this RTK, basically satellite receiver that helps it to map out your lawn. And so it's pretty easy to set up. All you do is you basically just put this on the ground right here. It actually has stakes that you can put in the ground right here. As you can see, you can screw it in so that way this doesn't move. And then it comes with this plug that you plug in. So you do have to plug this in. It's actually a pretty long cable. I think it's like 15 feet long. You can get extension cables and stuff like that as well. And the RTK receiver also has its own cable as well. So it goes like this. You stake this into the ground, it has its own stake, and then you actually just plug this into the base station. So you only have to actually plug one thing into the outlet. This just plugs into the base station, and then you're pretty much good to go. So it's actually not too hard to set up. It comes with really detailed instructions as well how to set it up, but you just basically want to make sure that you put this receiver, it has to be right next to the base station, and you want to make sure you put it in an area that's pretty open. So it recommends like 3 to 6 feet, away from anything on either side on the front. So as long as you do that, it should work. And then there actually will be a green light right here. And once this green light is on, that's how you know, and you can set it up in the app. And then essentially when you do that, this will turn on. You can put it in the base station, or it'll just turn on, and the app will actually show you how to use it, and it'll actually send it home, and it'll just begin charging. And just going around the mower, one thing that's super cool about this one is it actually has 4 cameras. So it has 2 on the front and then 1 on each side, which is really nice for navigation. It really helps it to be able to see if there's objects in its way and things like that, which I'll actually show you guys some clips of that here in a little bit. And then right here on the front, you have your charging port. So that's where it plugs into the base station. And then on here, you actually have a little screen, and you have some controls on here. So you have the home button if you want it to go back to the base station. You have your on button, and then you have your start and stop button, which you wouldn't really need to use just because you can do it all in the app. But if you wanted to, you could do it on the mower itself. And then right here, you have the kind of off-road style wheels, which are super nice. Honestly, I'm super impressed with them. This thing's pretty much able to go on any type of terrain. This grass right here is super thick, and you guys will see here in a second, it's able to go over it no problem at all. All right, and then before I show you guys it mowing, I just want to show you guys the app, because it's pretty much where you control everything. First, it'll have you just connect your mower, and then once you do that, it'll open up this screen right here. And when you first get it, it's going to have you map out your lawn, so you can either do that manually, which I'll show you guys a clip here in a little bit, or you can actually have it automatically, go around your lawn. I would recommend doing it manually at first. That way you can get it a lot more accurate. But as you can see, this is the lawn right here, and there's a bunch of different things you can control in the app. First off, one thing that you can do is you can actually create specific zones that you want. If you want the mower just to hit a specific zone, you can do that. You can also create no zones. So if you want the vacuum to not hit a specific spot of your lawn, you can set a square like that, and you can basically make it, not go there. So that way it doesn't mow that part, which is pretty awesome. And then you can also set up a route for your mower to edge your lawn, edge the outsides around your lawn as well. And then you can also just create new maps and things like that. And what's really cool is if you click the settings button, you can actually adjust the settings on your mower as well. So you can adjust the cutting height from 30 millimeters up to 70 millimeters. You can also adjust how the lines mow. So you can adjust, the angle. As you can see right here, it'll adjust, and it actually shows you a picture, which I think is pretty awesome that it shows you a representation of what it will look like. And then you can also choose it to mow 1 or twice, the route that it's supposed to take. And then this is also how you set up the edging of your lawn. So if you go over there to edge, you can edit it, and you can set basically a specific course of which part of your lawn or the outside border that you want to edge cut as well. All right, so I want to show you guys it in action now. Right now what I'm doing is I'm actually putting it in manual mode, and I'm just mapping out the yard, as you can see right here. So you want to make sure that you can, that you do this pretty accurately. That way it knows exactly where to go. It knows the exact outline or border of your yard. Just because later on, when you edge, trim, and stuff like that, it just helps a lot when it's more accurate. And I want to mention as well, if you do have a pretty simple yard, you can actually put it on automatic mode, and the mower will actually just automatically find the border of your yard too and map it by itself. So here it is in action right here. I set it to a 30 millimeter cut length, but you can adjust it, like I said earlier, in the app. And it's pretty sweet. I basically mapped out this square right here in the grass, and now it's going over the square, and you can see the difference, right? You can see right here where it cut and then where it hasn't cut. It's definitely taller, and you can even see the lines. I don't know if I'll try to go over here so you can see a better view, but you can definitely see the lines there, and it makes perfectly straight lines, which is pretty awesome. Once it gets to the edge as well, it'll do a perfect turnaround. That way it's a perfectly straight line back to it as well. And this is actually pretty thick grass. I feel like this grass is not very thin, so I thought it was gonna have a tough time going over it, but it actually is able to go over it really well, which is pretty awesome. Here it's going again. Like this. And I'll show you guys when it does that full turnaround again. So when it gets to the end, It fully turns around, does a 180 right on the line there, and then goes right back the other way so you can get those perfect lines. So pretty awesome. I mean, you can definitely tell, you know, where the line is and where it isn't. And one thing that I mentioned earlier that is really cool about this robot mower with the cameras that it has really good obstacle avoidance. So as you can see right here, I just put like a little toy in the yard, and it knows where it is, it senses it, it moves around it, and then basically it continues cutting. So it continues cutting what's in front of the object, and then once it gets back around, you know, finishing the square, it'll actually do the front of it as well, which is pretty amazing. And something else I wanted to mention as well is that this mower can actually handle up to a 24-degree slope or 45% slope. This is not a very big slope what you're seeing here. This is like the biggest slope I had in the yard, but I just wanted to show you guys that it can go up a slope pretty well. You know, as you can see, this is pretty thick grass, and you know, with the wheels it has and power that it has, it's able to handle it no problem at all, which is pretty amazing. And something else I wanted to show you guys is the edging feature. So this mower can actually edge your lawn as well, so that around the outside. I will say this is why you want to be super accurate when you manually, you know, map your lawn, because basically it's just going to follow that map that you set at the beginning. And so if you don't have it right to the edge of your lawn, it's not going to edge very well. But if you do, you know, then you're going to get it pretty accurately, and it's just going to go cut around the edge of your lawn, and it works super well. You know, as you can see, it's following that path. I wasn't super accurate, so it's kind of going in and out, but for the most part, it's staying on the edge, you know, and if you do make it super accurate in that manual mode, then it's going to get right on that edge that you set it. And then I just wanted to show you guys the manual mode once again. As you can see, like from my perspective on the phone, as you can see, it's super responsive. Like, you know, when I move my finger to the left, it moves to the left. When I move my finger forward, it moves forward. And so that's one thing that's super nice about this, is that the app connects to the robot super fast. And something else I wanted to mention that this robot does is that once it actually is running low on battery, it automatically goes back to the base station. As you can see right here, it charges itself up, and it does it completely on its own. And then once it's done charging, it'll go back out where it left off, and it'll just continue mowing the lawn. And you know, depending on how big your lawn is, it may need to charge a couple times, or it may be able to do your whole lawn, you know, at once. It just depends, but it actually does charge pretty fast as well. I think it goes from 0 to 100 in about 45 minutes, something like that. So it is just super nice because, you know, throughout the day, you could just have this thing mowing your lawn, or just whenever you want. You know, you could have this thing mow your lawn every single day, so that way, you know, you wake up in the morning or during the day and your lawn is just perfectly cut every single day, which is pretty amazing, you know, that it does that, because it can just charge on its own, and then it just goes back and continues working. And here's just an update from the beginning of that square zone that I set it to cut. As you guys can see, it's pretty much a perfect square. You know, you can see the edge around it where it didn't cut just because I set that square, and it's actually still going right now. So I'll show you guys a before and after in a second. But as you can see, the lines are perfectly straight, which you can adjust in the app if you want to put them at an angle. But it's cut really well. This is pretty thick grass, and it was able to cut it no problem. And here's another look from the other side. You know, that on the left over there, you can see where it's already cut. And then on the right over here, you can see where it hasn't cut yet. And then here's what it looks like when it's all done. And as you can see, perfect straight lines, pretty amazing. You know, I didn't have to do anything. This thing, I just set it, I click start, and this thing just mowed all on its own. So overall, as far as my review goes, honestly, it's really exceeded my expectations. It's pretty awesome. I feel like I've seen a lot of videos online of maybe some other robot mowers out there that can't really handle a lot of hard terrain and things like that. But this one's been able to handle everything. You know, it's been able to go on the concrete like this. It's been able to go on really thick grass. Like, I feel like this lawn right now is pretty thick. It's been able to go on dirt, and it really has no problem at all, and it's pretty fast actually. So this has exceeded my expectations. It's pretty awesome. It cuts really well as you could see earlier. You know that it can go all the way down to like 30 millimeters, which is pretty amazing. And the battery honestly is pretty awesome. You know, that square of grass I did earlier, it was able to handle that square no problem without even having to come back to the base station. And it's really nice that it does just automatically, you know, whenever it does run out of battery, it just automatically goes back to the base station, which I think is awesome as well. So, you know, essentially you can just set up a schedule and it can just keep mowing your lawn, you know, keeping it really small whenever you want it. It can go every day if you wanted to. It can just keep mowing. So it's pretty awesome. You know, really don't have to do anything. It works super well. Pretty easy to set up as well. You know, it's got really detailed instructions, and you really just have to set up the 3 things, you know, just the base station, and actually 2 things, just the base station and the RTK, you know, satellite receiver. And then you just put this on the charging base and you're good to go. So really awesome product, honestly. It's amazing. I will say you do want to make sure that you really, you know, when you manually map out your lawn, you really want to make sure that you map it out all the way in the right spots, and that you know, put in the apps parts that you don't want it to go. If you do that really accurately or really slowly and are able to do that, it's going to be able to mow your lawn really well. If you don't do that well, it's going to miss those parts on the outside and stuff like that. You know, and I'll say it's probably good to just edge your lawn anyways, you know, with like a weed whacker or something like that. But if you do make it accurately in the manual setup, then it should be able to edge your lawn no problem at all, which is pretty amazing. So if you guys are looking for a robot lawnmower definitely recommend checking this out. It's an awesome option in my opinion. Like I said, it exceeded my expectations, and it's actually pretty amazing how it cuts. So I hope that can help you guys see what this thing can do, and thanks for watching.